Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel on human design. Today we're going to be going treasure hunting. We're going to go into a direction that is not usual for me, and yet it's something that contains many gems for all of us. Today we're going to look at what's behind us. Where do we come from? I am strongly in the opinion that we are here to evolve in this life, that we are here to grow, that we are here to expand, that we are here to fulfill our human potential, whatever our design is. In my chart, I have two collective channels, the 2946, the expansion through experience on the journey of discovery, and the Alpha channel, leading myself and others into what is a better future. At least that is the intention, to go in a better future, to look towards the future. And yet, there are many things to be learned from looking at what's behind us, what is our past, where we have come from. Now, some of you will have the 1333. This will be part of your nature anyway. So you'll know what I mean. And we're going to look at those gems, and I'm going to explain why it is valuable for you to consider looking back. Before I do, 5 seconds on who I am. My name is Richard Beaumont. I've been doing human design for more than 25 years. And about 20 of those I've been teaching professional analysts. So let's go further. Let's have a look and see what the 33rd gate is all about. When we're looking at the 33rd gate, we're looking at a gate in the throat center. We're looking at a voice. We're looking at the voice that says, I remember or I don't remember. It is also called the gate of revelation. It's a gate of retreat. It's a great gate of privacy. And it's also a gate in the first line that is called avoidance. Let me read it to you. The wisdom in a weak position to recognize that survival demands complete withdrawal, retreating when one realizes they are in a weak position. And the detriment of that, where courage is just plain foolishness, unable to retreat when overwhelmed by stimulation. The main heading in this gate is active withdrawal and the transformation of a weak position into a strength. So think about where you've come from, the experiences that you've had. Think about what you've got involved in since then. Think about your own expansion away from the past. And think about how you've changed. And here we get the potential of a strength in something that has already happened, in going back to the past. A couple of years ago, I went to visit a scientist in my hometown, a place I hadn't been to for decades. And I spent about 12 hours with this guy, fascinating experiments and information that he had. And I left there about midnight, and I had about a 3-4 hour drive to take after that. And I got out of the building, and I'm walking down a road that I used to walk a lot in the past, before I could drive, when I was a boy. And to my utter surprise, I found myself feeling very strong. I found myself feeling like, yes, this is my bloody town, you know? And I thought, this is strange. Why would I feel this? Why would this be going on for me? And it was a time when I was very strong, when I was in that youthful vigor to kind of move on with my life. And here I was back again, not in the same frame of mind, not in the same position, but the strength was still there. And I found that fascinating. I thought, well, I never expected this. What I'm trying to say to you is there are many treasures in looking back. Avoidance, as this first line, as this foundation for this gate, is to retreat when you're in a weak position. And when you think about it, when we're younger, we are in a weak position. We haven't established ourselves. We have, we're reliant on our parents or the people that care for us. We may be surrounded by siblings or schoolmates or whatever it may be, and still trying to find our way in the world and who we are and whatever it is. So one of the treasures that you can get when going back is to see that you have a strength you didn't have before. It's very important to understand that, especially for those of you who are really getting into human design, you're being changed. I mean, you're being altered. You're identifying with your design, and you're working on your strategy and authority, and the resistance in life is becoming less. Now, depending on how long you've been in human design, how deeply you've taken on strategy and authority, it will depend on the degree. But what is certain is that you will no longer have the same relationship to your past that you had before. Now, we know that we're highly conditioned. We're designed to be conditioned in all the open centers, in all the open gates and channels that we have. We're here to learn through that. So consider what happens when you find yourself back into the past in some way. It may be that you bump into an old friend. It may be you find yourself, as I did, in my hometown. It's different because you're different. Your relationship to it is different. It shows you what you've learned. Now, I'm also a third line, so I'm a breaker of bonds. I'm going, this doesn't work for me. I got to move on. I've got to get out of this. And it's very much my nature to move in this logical direction, to keep moving forward. And when I find myself back with friends that I haven't seen for a very long time, I get not only to see how I have changed, but I also get to see what has not changed. And there can be a friendship and a familiarity that I'd forgotten, and how beautiful that is and how sweet that is. The connection has changed because the people in the past have also changed. You get to, in a way, collect parts of you that you may have avoided, that you may have run away from. The thing about most people in this world is that there is this fear that drives us for this way and that way. Fear from the outside, fear from our past conditioning in terms of, some of us were brought up in harder situations than others. And, you get away and you never want to go back. But in going back, there are parts of you that you reconnect with. In going back, there is a softer attitude towards what was happening before. It doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that you've gone through it. And what matters is that you've learned from it. We are here to remember the lessons of history where they are valuable to us. There are many things in the 33rd gate that are absolutely essential in the living of our life. The bigger overview in a business situation, for example, the bigger overview in terms of the whole life that we may have forgotten, especially if you don't have that gate. You're like, well, I forgot all about that. And actually, that was very sweet. I'm glad I remembered that. It's about coming to another perspective about your history. Many of us are running away, as I say, from fear. Things that were fearful for us in the past are not in the present because we've changed, because we've matured. It shows you where you are still holding on. It shows you where you've broken through, where things don't matter to you the way they used to. And some of those things that mattered to you then that you've forgotten, you rediscover them. You find they matter to you now as well. So there are many secrets to be had by looking back. One of those secrets is, as you have moved in your life and you are more comfortable with who you are, especially through human design. You find that going back and seeing old friends or family members that you hadn't seen for a long time, the things that used to really jar at you in the way that they communicated or the kind of subjects they wanted to talk about, now you accept them far more. It's no longer jarring. It's not part of your life all the time. It's a revisiting and a chance to let go, and also a chance to embrace the things that are part of your nature that you didn't go into or you couldn't fully feel because of the fear, whatever that fear may be. To get to see things from your own personal history in the light of the present, it can be incredibly useful, incredibly fulfilling. You know, weight can leave your shoulders at last and you didn't even know you were carrying it. The past is like a door that is closed, but it's not locked. And sometimes opening that door again can bring us many gifts. And there are always surprises when you go back. There are always new learnings that you can have, depending on those people that you go back and see. Maybe certain things have never changed. But now you see, well, you know, I'm glad I left that. I'm glad that's, you know, I was never interested in that. I never had any liking for this or that. And sometimes it can be okay. I didn't know that I was blocking myself off from something that I could enjoy in my present because of what had happened in the past. So in a way, it also helps to move you on in your present by not being afraid of the past and being open to learn from it, to see how you have changed in the expansion of your life, in the journey of your life. I mean, this is really what it's about. We change. We are a design, but we are a design that is a potential to be able to experience all that we have. And some of those experiences that we could have, we will never have if part of us is trapped in the past, if part of us doesn't look back. Now, I'm not suggesting you spend all your time looking back, and you know that can be a trap for those people that get older and their life gets narrower and they don't know who they are. It can be living in the past. I'm suggesting a visit to the past. I'm suggesting facing the fears or facing the memories because of this or because of that or whatever your mind may tell you, but the actual experience of going back to a particular place or to see an old friend. It can show you perhaps a source of habits that you adopted in terms of survival that you no longer need, that drop from you when you face the past, when you see it again in the perspective of your present. One of the things to understand about the past is, yeah, when we were vulnerable, we do build up defenses. It's natural for us to do that. But they become outdated as we get stronger, as we expand, as we know our abilities more, as we get more wisdom, as we get older. Now, the thing about the past in setting up habits is that they can get reinforced over time. The past has its traps and it has its gems. There is much freedom to be had from clearing up completely something in the past that you didn't even know you were holding on to. And you don't necessarily know what that is until you return to it. Let me give you another example of going back into the past, something that you all know. When you look at old photographs from the past, you re-experience, you rediscover, and in that discovery, there are emotions, especially important for those people with open emotional systems. You know, looking at photographs can bring up a whole lot of stuff about this and that you'd forgotten about. Reliving it in the present revisiting it in the present can be a great source of letting go of what no longer serves you, and moving forward with the wisdom of the past from the current perspective that you have. So many people are controlled by the past that they dare not look at. They have retreated and they ain't going back. Well, there's a certain time and a place where going back can be very useful and can be very freeing. And as far as I'm concerned, it is part of the keys that we need in order to open up to all that we are. When we think about this channel, the Prodigal, the 1333, remember it's a projector channel. Remember that recognition is part of it. Remember that it's experiential. You have to experience it, re-experience it. And photographs are a very good example of that. In the re-experiencing, you get to see things in a new way. It gives source to forgiveness, forgiveness of yourself, forgiveness of the other. There are many things that come that can bring a lightness. You know, the past is like set in the past, it will not change. Yeah, but you've changed. And if you're still holding on to something that's said in the past, it's getting in your way. It's stopping you moving forward because of something that happened in the past. You know, maybe some prejudice that you have because of some character in your past or some experience that you had in a particular place, you know, and it's like, don't want to do that, don't want to go back there. Well, there comes a time when you can go back. There comes a time when you can reclaim that part of yourself that you perhaps ran away from. It can serve you. It is a useful endeavor to consider. It's really just a matter of remembering that there are secrets, that there are treasures in your past that perhaps you're not wanting to look at, that can be valuable for you. If I can give you another example, back when I was at school, I loved two subjects more than others. I loved chemistry and I loved English. And I went down the English track. I went down English and philosophy and thinking and communicating, and that suited me. But that childhood chemist is still in me. And the other day I was looking at the nature of some part of chemistry that I was curious about, and it was like these memories came up and the excitement came up, you know, to re-experience working with different chemicals, seeing how things can reform in a new way. And I was fascinated and still am fascinated by it. And yet it's part of me that I have left behind. But it's also something that I can pick up again in the present, should I respond to doing so. You know, think about when we're younger, we are so much more open. We are so much more vulnerable. And yet we are closer to the source. We are closer to our nature when we're younger. You can see that just by looking at small children and the way they play with each other. You know, they're much rawer. They're much more like in the moment. And there's a part of each one of us, I suspect, that can tap into that energy, that vitality that we had if we go back and have a look. Again, I'm not pointing this out as something you have to do. It has to come from, you know, your strategy and authority. But when that time does come, remember this. Remember, there are always new lessons to learn from looking backwards. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please like and share and subscribe. That would be very good. And I will see you again very soon with something completely different.